And joining us now is Belle Ribeiro Addy, the Labour MP for Streatham, and Shaun Bailey, the Conservative candidate for London Mayor. Shaun, I'm just going to ask you, first of all, to respond to those comments by Diane Abbott. She believes that the protesting is partly driven by the inequalities that COVID's exposed, and that the data from COVID has exposed what she called institutional racism. Do you accept that?
I've been out and spoken to so many people across the internet. People have been emailing me about what's going on. And the three things they say to me never include COVID. They always talk about, number one, they want to feel safe. Number two, what are we going to be doing about housing? And number three, how can our children make sure that they have the same opportunities as everybody else? So while COVID is definitely an issue for the Black community, I don't think the study has come back and told the Black community enough about what the impact factors are. But again, people are generally talking about, particularly where it pertains to what's gone on in the last few days, around safety. How can we feel safe? And what will this country do to move forward? This is a game of hearts and minds, and we mustn't let people set us against each other. We'll only get to where we want to get in a partnership, both Black and white people, not them and us.
And if people are out on the streets because they believe Britain is racist, what would you say to them? What should the government and legislators' response be to that?
I think there's two things I'd say about that. Firstly, Britain does have its race problems, but as Diane said, we're in a far better place than we've been traditionally, and we continue to work at these things. An example of that is when very senior police officers wrote that they understand and they feel the pain of the Black community and they want to help us get some justice. That's a very big step forward for the police to take. So I think that's very important as well. But of course, things could be better. If you're a Black graduate, you're twice as likely to be unemployed as your white counterpart, which for the Black community is very crippling, because you're talking about young people who've done all of the right things and yet don't have the same access. But again, changing the law is a signal as part of it. This is about people changing their own behaviour. And if you're in a community that's a 1,000 miles away from the Black community, remember this: we are all linked. We are all Britons, and you can hold your head up high if you believe that Britain is a safe, fair place to live, and we are all part of that conversation.
It was interesting to hear not just the Prime Minister's change of tone today, but also from the Home Secretary and from Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, on the same sort of area. Priti Patel called those who'd pulled down the statue, I think the phrase was hooligans and thugs. And I guess it's easy to condemn a clearly unlawful act. But isn't the truth that in the last 24 hours, we've probably had more conversations, as a nation, about slavery, about empire, about disenfranchisement? We've already seen another statue removed. We've seen a concert hall renamed. That all points to the fact that this kind of direct action really has an impact, and fast.
I disagree. The whole point of protesting is to shine a light on the issue, and it's for political leadership, public discourse to come up with an answer. If you allow one piece of thuggery to be fine because you happen to agree, what happens when the thuggery you don't agree? So I think that was a failure of leadership on the part of the leadership in that particular part of the country. I understand that people have been campaigning for some time for a change and were ignored. So here we are. And the other thing is as well, this is fundamental to what it means to be British and what it means to be Black in Britain as well. And we don't want all of our forward steps covered by some kind of thuggery, because if you're not involved in that, if you're watching this from afar, you lose the focus on what we're after. We're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for the same treatment. We are part of Britain's history, and we're part of Britain's future.
Well, let's look at those forward steps then, because you'll know at the last election, the Prime Minister expanded stop and search powers, said he wanted to expand stop and search powers. You want to be the Mayor for London, the Conservative Mayor for London. Do you then go ahead with that and say, yes, we're going to expand stop and search powers, even though it disproportionately affects young Black men?
I'm a Black man, of course, and I understand the pain of being stopped and searched. I'm born and grown up in London, been stopped and searched hundreds of times. But
Hundreds?
Also, you're looking at
really?
communities. Yeah, lots of times. Remember, I used to be a youth worker. I was a youth worker for over 20 years. My life was dealing with stop and search. My life was dealing with young people in these situations for more than 20 years. The point I'm trying to make is this: stop and search is one tool in the police's armour to deal with crime in London. And remember, we've had record amounts of crime in the last 3 years. So what you need to be doing with stop and search is, how is it conducted? I've been stopped and searched well. I've been stopped and searched poorly. The point is this: it needs to be done properly.
But Shaun, sorry, but you've probably been stopped and searched more than if you hadn't been a young black man. I mean,
That's
isn't that something you want to
that's
stop?
100% correct, and I'm not trying to dodge that. The point is this: it's about who you stop, when you stop, and how you stop. It's about what community are you protecting. There's no doubt that the black community has been over policed for many years, but it isn't just about stop and search. That's the thing that people pick. And there's two things I'd say in response. Firstly, it's a challenge to us as black people to make sure we administer the police properly, make sure we watch the police properly. That is why I say it isn't useful to just get some forward progress on thuggery. That doesn't give us the right to come and monitor the police. And the second thing as well, let's get involved in the police. The Stephen Lawrence inquiry really showed us that as a group of police officers who had no feeling, no connection to the black community, let's get involved in all of the offices of this country, all of the institutions, so we can represent ourselves and not have other people talk on our own behalf.